Homemade chocolate pudding! Welcome to Rain's Kitchen and Garden. My name is Rain. Today I'm going to show you how I make this easy, quick, homemade chocolate pudding recipe from scratch. It's creamy and delicious. There is no cornstarch in this recipe and it's vegetarian. Here are the ingredients that you'll need. You're going to need half a cup or 110 grams of brown sugar, a quarter of a cup or 27 grams of unsweetened cocoa powder, a quarter of a cup or 33 grams of all-purpose flour, a pinch of salt, 2 egg whites, and I'll show you how to separate the egg whites from the egg yolks after this. You'll need 2 cups or 500 milliliters of your favorite milk, 1 tablespoon or 13 grams of unsalted butter, and 1 teaspoon or 6 milliliters of vanilla extract. The first thing I'm going to do is separate my eggs, and I'm going to show you how to do it. It's quite easy. You just need 2 bowls, and what I'm going to do is crack the egg in the middle here. And then pull the shell apart and make sure that yolk stays into the shell of the egg. That's the easiest way to separate eggs. Okay? And then you can use that yolk, you can put that into the freezer, and you can add that to your baking. Now I did notice I have a few shells at the bottom of my egg whites, and I'm going to show you how to easily get rid of those as well. But let me do this first. There we go. To get the shells out of your eggs, basically you take a wet spoon and you pull them out that way. As long as your spoon is wet, the eggshells will stick to it. You see? And if you've tried to take eggshells out before without a wet spoon, you know how difficult it is. It's very, it's just hard to take them out. They get slimy and they move all over the place and you can't catch them. They're very, wily. So now we've got our egg whites ready to go. In my bowl here, I'm going to whisk together all of my dry ingredients. So I've got my brown sugar. I have my cocoa, my all-purpose flour, and as I mentioned, we just want a pinch of salt. So just a little pinch of salt. You could pinch it and go like that, but I kind of know how much a pinch is. So I'm just going to grab my whisk and whisk that all together, and at the same time, I'm kind of squishing down those large pieces of brown sugar, because that inevitably happens to brown sugar, right? It gets lumpy. There are all sorts of ways that you can find online where people say that you can keep it from getting lumpy, but I've tried a lot of them and they don't really work. But it doesn't matter. One of the ones I used to do was I used to wet a piece of paper towel and put it into the package. And that worked pretty well, but there were still lumps. Some people say to put a grape in there. I don't know. There are a lot of home wives' tales, they call them, right? Old wives' tales. I just say squish them down when you need to. In any case, when the milk gets hot, they're going to melt in there. Okay, so that's pretty well incorporated. I'm going to set that aside and start making my pudding. I have a medium pot here, and I'm going to add my 2 egg whites. Now the heat's not on yet. I just want to put my egg whites in, and I'm going to set my timer for a minute, and I'm going to whisk to get the egg whites nice and frothy. Okay. So you see it's kind of foamy. We just want to get some air into those egg whites. Now I'm going to add my milk. And I'm going to give that a bit of a whisk as well, just to incorporate. All right, the next step is to add all of my dry ingredients. And remember, the heat's not on yet. I just want everything to be nicely incorporated before I turn the heat on. So let's give that a whisk until we get that more or less incorporated. Though it's easier to incorporate cocoa when you have hot liquid. Let's just try to give that a good whisk to get most of it incorporated for now. All right. So now what I'm going to do is I'm turning up my burner. Right now I'm turning on my burner to medium heat. And I'm going to continue to whisk that until I see that everything is dissolved, because right now you might not be able to see it, but I can feel and I can see some of the cocoa is not completely dissolved. So as that heats up, the cocoa is going to dissolve and I'm going to whisk constantly. When I see that everything is dissolved, I'm going to switch to a wooden spoon and I'm going to stir constantly. Bring it to a boil. Everything is nicely incorporated. It's nice and smooth. So I'm going to switch to my wooden spoon. And just make sure nothing is stuck in those round corners, I guess they're called. Nothing stuck around the pot. That's why we put the liquid in first and then we put the dry ingredients in after. Because if you do it the other way around, you risk having dry ingredients stuck in these corners. And your pudding won't turn out very well. All right, I'm confident that everything is combined well. So I'm going to leave that on medium heat and I'm going to stir constantly with my wooden spoon until it comes to a boil. And once it comes to a boil, I'm going to cook it for 3 minutes, 3 to 5 minutes. And as you go, you're going to feel it thickening. As it heats up, it's going to thicken. This is getting very close to a boil. And I can really feel it thickening. It's sticking to my wooden spoon here. I love that. So if I just stop stirring for a second, let's take a look. Oh, we've got a few little bubbles coming up. See that? Sounds like a Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde laboratory with the bubbles. So I'm going to put my timer on for 5 minutes. I'm just going to turn the heat down slightly because I want it to boil, but I don't want it to overboil. Here we go. It's starting to get really thick. So I'm giving that a really good stir. And we're going to let that cook for 3 to 5 minutes. If you find that it starts to thicken up a bit too much, too quickly, as you can see here, look, I've got little pieces, and that could very well be the egg white. You can grab your whisk and switch to your whisk. And use the whisk instead of the wooden spoon. just to make sure everything stays well incorporated for those 3 to 5 minutes. I think I'm only going to need 3 minutes for mine because it's getting really thick. I've been cooking this and whisking it constantly for 3 minutes. Look at how thick it is. It's nice and thick. It's going to set very well. So I'm going to continue to whisk. I did turn off my heat, but I don't want it to stick to the bottom. And as I'm whisking, I'm going to add my vanilla. I'm whisking with my left hand, so it's hard for me. I'll switch to my right here. Okay, and now I'm going to add that butter and whisk all of that to incorporate it. That's going to make it so nice and creamy. As soon as the butter is melted, you can start pouring this into your dishes or into a large glass bowl. This is how thick it is. Look at that. You want to make sure it's thick before you stop cooking it, because if it's not thick, it's not going to set. I'm very happy with this right now. If you don't want that skin on top of your pudding, the best thing to do is put some cling film on right away and push it down so that it touches the top. That way, when you're ready to eat it, you don't have to pull off a layer of pudding skin, unless that's what you like. There we go. Now these are ready to go into the fridge, and I'm going to let them cool completely before I try them. My pudding is ready. It's so chocolatey. I like mine a little cold, so I put it in the fridge for a few hours to let it set and cool. I hope you enjoyed this video today. If you did, please give it a like and please do subscribe. If you don't want to miss out on any of my future videos, don't forget to hit the notification bell for some more home cooking. And please share this video with fellow pudding lovers. Thanks again for watching, my friends. I'll see you next time on Rain's Kitchen and Garden. Bye.